So you get to go into the day thinking about what George wants to get done when you're looking in that email, what George needs to be getting accomplished. And those three tasks should really be what you need first, and then what others need of you come afterward.
Welcome to Married to the Startup. I'm Alicia McKenzie, a wellness entrepreneur and digital creator. Alongside me is my amazing husband, George, the CEO who's always ready for a new challenge. We've been navigating marriage and running startups for over a decade, and we're here to share the real, unfiltered journey with you. Join us for insights and candid conversations about integrating love, family, and entrepreneurship. This is Married to the Startup, where every day is a new adventure. All right, welcome back to Married to the Startup. I am your host, Alicia McKenzie, and we are here for episode number 17. I've got my amazing co-host / husband,
George. I am present.
And we have with us today Sarah Sims. She is our first guest ever. So
Wow.
thank you for taking this journey with us, because I'm going to be honest, I have no clue what I'm doing, but we're figuring it out along the way. So
We will learn together. And I'm honored to be your first guest on the podcast. Thank you for the invitation.
thank you for coming on. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. So, Sarah Sims here. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, also known as the DMV for the locals. I have three amazing children, two bonus children, and am married to my best friend. I have been in the workplace, HR, and real estate industry for a little over 20 years now. And I have affectionately developed a passion for well-being of the modern day professional. So my business really helps organizations lead their modern day workforces by building healthy cultures, enhancing employee connection that can ultimately drive growth.
Amazing. Okay, so that is three things that we have in common: 5 children, living in the DMV, and then real estate. So
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
Married to your best friend's not one of them?
Oh,
Jeez. I was like,
How
give
did
me.
George
It was
pick
so
up?
easy. How
We
did you not
lost
come up
that
with that one?
one.
okay. 4 things. 4 things. We have 4 things in
Gosh.
common. I love you, babe. Yeah, so that's really cool. That's really cool. All right, so this show is called Married to the Startup. We have been starting businesses for probably 15 years, maybe. It's a long time. But where are you in your business landscape? Like, what's your experience? You're obviously an
Sure.
entrepreneur. You,
Yeah.
we assume very good at it.
So I'm actually a part-timepreneur. So I have a full-time job and I'm transitioning. Well, I work part-time and I'm transitioning out into things that I really love about the work that I do. And that's really kind of centered in team development, executive leadership development, and well-being for the professional. So I first started my experience with being a business owner on my product-based business that I still have and we're still operating, called Autumn and Joy, the self-care boutique. And that was born in my journey of kind of resisting burnout post-diagnosis of a chronic autoimmune condition that does not have a cure. And so 2015, I woke up the day after Thanksgiving and I went blind in my left eye. I had lost over 50% of the vision in my left eye. And I was so addicted to working out that I thought it was just a headache. And I had traveled to New York later on that afternoon, and I actually still went to New York. This is just how bad my level of burnout was almost 10 years ago. I got back, went to the eye doctor, or I went to the eye doctor up there. He said, you really need to see a neurologist. I went to see a neurologist. By the time I got back home, my vision had recovered, but I was monitored for 2 years. And ultimately, when I got my diagnosis, I asked the doctor, well, what can I do other than medication to manage this disease? And he said, manage your stress. It's like, oh, that's the one thing I'm not good at. Couldn't you tell me to, eat like leafy greens or boost my vitamin K? It's like, no, you have to manage your stress. And that resulted in just me learning so much about health and well-being for a busy professional who has a lot of commitments, and I don't want to slow down. I didn't want to slow down. I enjoy the things that I did, but I didn't really know how to build resilience effectively. And I didn't know all of the triggers that were happening that would exacerbate stress. And so over time, I eliminated those things. And a lot of them were products that I used on my skin and my hair, cleaning products. And so I had eliminated all of that out of my home. But that left me smelling like grapeseed oil and Dr. Bronner's castor soap. And so I really missed smelling like a woman, my home being filled with seasonal fragrances. And so I started making those products for myself. I started making hand poured soy candles for our home and body butters for myself and my children, because if mama's going clean, everyone's going clean. So I took a lot of those products away from my children. They loved their Bath and Body Works, but they were willing to separate from them one bottle at a time. And eventually, when I could replace it with products that I was making, they were more than happy to make the transition with me. And so one day, my mom was with me, and she wasn't feeling well, and I brought her some of my body butter and a candle I put in her room to burn while she was with us. And I said, try this out, Mom. I've just been trying a new recipe, or formulation is what we call it. I said, tell me what you think. And she had used, it was like a little small 2-ounce jar, and she had used all of it within like a week, which I tell my customers it actually lasts a month, but she really loved it just that much. And so I thought, during the COVID, seeing a lot of time on my hands, how about I try making this a business? And so 2021, I launched Autumn Joy, the self-care boutique. We have served and sold over 1,000 customers, thousands of products, led workshops. We have like virtual workshops, and it has just been such an exciting um, contribution to our community, our local community here in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, and then to the workplaces. And so that was my first experience, like running a business, like failing, doing it all wrong, trying to do my own labeling, trying
That's
to
amazing.
build my own website, all the things that you learn how to outsource to the professionals. I did all those things wrong, but I'm thankful because learning how to run a business grassroots that way really helped me understand that when I wanted to pivot into consulting and coaching for the things I do, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, that I knew where to stay in my lane and what to activate first.
Wow. Okay, that's really cool. I mean, you're speaking my love language, right? I love clean products. I love wellness. Did you work with a chemist, or how did you develop your products?
I did not work with a chemist. At first I purchased the formulation. You can purchase formulations from formulators. And then I just started experimenting and YouTubing and going to classes and things that would just taught me how certain oils how certain oils blend with butters. And I learned the fragrance load amount restrictions. And I just literally learned from the ground up. I took a whole year doing it wrong until I mastered a formulas that was right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's just a testament though, right? You're building a business. Same thing. You had no clue what you were doing, but you figured it out along the way.
I did. That's how most of my life has been.
Yeah, I think it's a great story, especially about understanding what's in your lane. And as a small business, a lot of times do everything because there's not a lot of capital flowing. So you don't want to outsource. You figure, hey, I can learn this. I'm a smart person. I'm just going to do it myself. But it's awesome that you learned those lessons, and it's invaluable for a startup to understand every piece that goes into running a business. And I think, like you said, that translates to the new business venture that you have going now. Having learned that, experience of, hey, I'm not the best web developer out there. It might be easier to outsource this. And same with what would you like tax accounting and
Oh,
all the
yes.
financial back end stuff. Like in the beginning, you're like, I'm just going to figure it out because I don't want to pay somebody. And then eventually you realize that, wow, the use of your time doing that versus paying a professional will pay off
Right.
tenfold.
Right. and that they love their work. You know what I mean? I work with a lot of small businesses. And so to help my small business, but I don't like accounting. I don't like numbers and statements and bills. And they do. And I'm helping, fund their dream and fund their own passions. So I can totally relate to where they're coming from. I would hate for my clients to try to create their own well-being programs for a modern day professional because I've done it before and I know where they've been. And I value the heart that a professional who's in their lane brings and contributes to my business.
So it sounds like you have two different silos going for your business. You have the product side, which is, I'm assuming, is still running. And
Yes.
you said that your children are helping with that, which I think
Yes.
is really cool because that is something that we're very cognizant of. Like, we want to build something that our kids can one day help us run or maybe take from us. We've got three different businesses going, but how does that work for you? Like, you have your product business that your children are helping with, and then you have another business that sounds like it's in the growth phase, I'm assuming?
Definitely. Yes. So Autumn and Joy, we're going into year 4 now. And my daughters, they're all adult age, but two of them were still teens when we got started. And we started grassroots. So we're going to markets all over the city, all over the area, pitching up a tent. And it's like, grab the tent, grab the tote, put the table up. It was like they really had to learn what it took to run a profitable business, customer service, sales, managing accounting, what does
Content
discounts do,
creation.
content. Oh, my whole Instagram and Facebook is managed by my daughter. I started from the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing, but she saw me and I said, like, I believe this is what I want to do. And then they would critique me and say, that's not what's hip right now. This is what everyone wants to see. And I'm like, here, you take the phone and you handle it. Content creation is a big one for them and they understand media, right? They just adapt to social media and video and catchy titles. I don't know what people are clicking on these days. And I was more focused on the products and business development. And it just became a really beautiful marriage because they got excited to see me get excited about something. So my journey to Autumn and Joy was a burnout journey. They saw me
Yeah.
go to work and do things that I came home and I was exhausted. It, Now they finally get to see me do something that fuels me and fulfills me. And so they wanted to be, I assume that was a part of the reason why they wanted to be a part of that. But we talk a lot about how to grow the business. And my prayers is that we grow the business so it's a business that they can lead and that they can manage and have employees one day of their own. But yes, my youngest daughter is a senior sales associate. My oldest daughter is an operations manager. She manages all our markets. She manages my calendar, so much beyond Autumn and Joy. She helps me with this business as well, and they are paid employees.
That is that's very aspirational. I
Yeah.
applaud that because that, like I said, that's one of our goals as we have 5 kids that are still small. The 17-year-old is getting ready to be a full-grown adult on Monday, October 28th. I can't believe we
Congratulations.
have an adult in our household, but she's more and more she's into photography and she's a creative and she's helping us with photo shoots for one of our companies, and then she's coming on a media set with us. So it's finding a way to integrate our family with what we love doing.
Hmm. Yes. It's a lost, like, I feel like it's a lost, like, fundamental component of business in America. That your children, if you're willing to step out there and build a business and build a sustainable business, your family, your children should be a part of that in some way if they so choose to. I remember my father had a carpet cleaning business back when we were little kids and I was too young. But my brother, he was a teenager. He would go work with him and he would clean carpets. And it was just, it was expected. Like that's what you did when you weren't at school on the weekend. You help out. And I think it builds character, business acumen so much that the workplace does not teach you.
it's been lost generationally of having your children be a part of what you're doing as your career, and that apprenticeship format
Mhm.
where you get to learn in school and you get to learn at university and get an education there, but the education of doing it live and learning from your parents, like generations before had done, is kind of disappeared in today's modern society. So I'm a big
Yes.
proponent of that as well.
Yeah. And it makes learning and failing a safe space. It's
Absolutely.
really high anxiety, and it's it's like the significance of failing for a business that doesn't know you, that doesn't know like who you are, how what your gifts are, what your talents are. They just need the work. It's a lot higher stakes for the professional. But if the professional is your family and we all understand each other's gifts and talents, then that's what we leverage most, right? We don't harp on trying to strengthen your weaknesses. We really ask you to strengthen them, yes, but then thrive in your genius. And that's what we do a lot of with the girls. We know what their gifts, natural gifts are, and that's how we expect them to show up in the business.
I love that you just mentioned that because I think it was on a recent episode where we were talking about how some people are problem oriented and some people are solution oriented. And
I heard that
just
one.
because you are one or the other does not make you better or worse. That just means that you have different strengths and your vision and your ability to see, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work because of this. Like we need those people in the room. Right. So knowing your children and knowing what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, like you can help them thrive, you can help them shine, and you can help them see that, okay, you're not just like your sibling, and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? Like there's plenty of room for everybody to shine and to thrive. And I think really leaning into what you're good at, like that's fantastic. I love that you're able to do that with your family. So I think this
Yeah.
kind of leads us perfectly into the next question is you were very wellness oriented. How do you integrate all of your personal needs and your family needs with running businesses? Because people say work life balance, but given that everything is kind of merged together for you, I don't think a balance is possible. I think it's more of you integrate it all. So tell me, how do you do it?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. It is work life integration for me that I believe in. And I think that technology has just required this of us, right? We do have to have boundaries. Now, boundaries are still important with work life, not balance as much, right? So for me, that has looked like my phone doesn't come into certain spaces in the house. We are making eye contact when we're talking to each other, not kind of like just passing each other by, right? There's just these kind of fundamental boundaries and rules that we have around work and tech, I should say, and how we interact personally with one another. But for business, I try to have spaces that are dedicated for work and business so that those are kind of nonverbal cues that work is happening. I don't want to bring a laptop into the bedroom. I don't want to bring a laptop into the family room. But if I'm in the study or if I'm in the basement where our studio is, that's signaling it's work time. And I can't talk about what's in crisis mode. But if you need me to talk or something that's a crisis for my children or for my husband or that they need me to address, but if you want to have a conversation, hey, let's go to another part of the house where we are cueing our brains. We're about to have a conversation that really requires us to show up because I run a home business. All my work and my businesses happen here. So it's just a mixed space. So that's something that we do quite frequently. I'm also really good at compartmentalizing how I spend my time in the month, in the quarter, and then I try to go out to the year, but sometimes 2 quarters is as far as it can get out because like I didn't know I would be on a podcast today, right? So this a year ago, it's great that I have that space to do so. But what I do say is I have more goals that are a year ahead, but in the month, I'm looking for how am I spending time with my best friend, my husband? How am I spending time with each of my daughters? How am I spending time with my parents and then my friends? And then my family, they get time with me quarterly. Those who don't aren't in that smaller circle, they get quarterly time spent with me. But I have to plan it. It just doesn't happen on accident. We're very coordinated and organized in that way. I make time, I get coached so that someone holds me accountable for the things that I said are important to me. You know, the therapist, so you don't dump on people about things that they can't fix anyway, right? It's just making I have a really good team. I just have a really good team. And we work on ensuring that the goals that I've set and the systems that I've established work for me. If they don't, we pivot. And then in the home, we really just focus on the spaces being dedicated for what they need, and then other spaces are sacred.
Okay, that's brilliant. I feel like I need to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And do you take any of those, I guess, lessons from your other business and the things you were just talking about? And then is that part of what the new business is? And with, coaching executives on how to build a company culture that facilitates, happy employees, or at least, a thriving business where people, don't want to leave and want to do their best, and, it's a safe place to work.
Exactly. So I do want to definitely coach a leader to be the healthiest version of themselves, because we know when we take care of ourselves, we are creating and supporting from a place that's very authentic, because a healthy person is far more aware of what's going on around them. They're able to build trust and relationships because they trust themselves. They've done the work that they needed for themselves first. So if you don't take care of you, you won't trust any other relationship in your life. It'll be a superficial trust, because if you lie to yourself, you lie to anybody else. So first, you'll need to start just saying the truth to yourself. I need to work on myself. I need to work on these things, and doing that work. And when I say wellness for the executive, that doesn't mean you're the perfect weight, you're the whatever the perfect weight is. I know I'm not the perfect weight, the perfect muscle definition, the perfect diet. But what you said you want to accomplish is happening. What is a priority to you, you make time for? Your goals are being achieved. So when you show up and you're present for the company, they're getting the best, healthiest version of you. Then you're going to always encourage your team to be doing the same thing. You'll be working from a place where you're like, hey, I see you looking a little burnt out, or I heard that you wanted to achieve this goal for yourself or for, your professional development. Let's make sure that that's happening for you. We're going to be more consciously aware of toxic culture, and doing something about it. And then we'll have the tools to be able to do that when I'm teaching those tools of how to be a healthy leadership and practice on the team. I'm not also fighting the fact that you have challenges going on with your own well-being. You're really able to show up as the fullest best version of yourself.
That's really interesting. This is the second time in 3 days that I've heard somebody talk about being a coach, like you're having a coach for goals, right? So you are, yes, wellness. I think wellness is very general and broad. You
General.
can be
Yeah,
mentally well, you can be financially well, but you could say, okay, I am the CEO of this corporation and these are my goals. And your job is to help them make sure that they're in the right direction to achieve those goals, right? Because I feel like people can
exactly.
say and can set goals. And then if you're not accountable to anybody, it's like, oops, I didn't do that. My bad. And then you just move on with your life. But you're like, Sarah's like, oh, no, no, no. You said you were going
Yep.
to do this. What steps are you taking to make sure that that's going to happen? So you're
Yes.
this is the second time in 3 days that I've heard somebody that's what they do. Like they're here to make sure that we're accountable for the bullshit that comes out of our mouths.
Yeah. That comes out of our mouths, that we write on paper, that we put in our calendar. I'm infamous for adding something to the calendar. Like, oh, if it's in the calendar, I'll do it. But there's a couple of things in my calendar that sometimes I just don't get to. But if
Hmm.
I'm aware that it's not getting done and I know why it's not getting done, then I'll make time for it, when it's necessary. But some of us, old Sarah was very much guilty of putting something in the calendar, writing it in the journal, going to the visioning sessions at the beginning of the year. I had all the New Year's goals and I just didn't get them done. And because I was deflated and disappointed in myself, that reflected in my leadership style. You cannot avoid it. It is inherently who we are, and I think that leaders oftentimes have the most pressure on their shoulders.
I'm looking at him
Entrepreneurs.
because he's definitely
Yeah, and then I think having someone like you facilitating leaders to understand to, one, create a culture in which everyone is thriving and achieving their goals,
Yes.
and that the goals are related to, what you want to do as a company, and you keep your focus on the main thing and stop, getting caught up in the whirlwind of, like you were saying, the calendaring of 50 things that you're never going to get done. And you just keep putting them on there, and it keeps adding stress to your life, and you keep adding stress to your workforce on things that may or may not matter. And keeping,
Yes.
what's the one thing, what's the number one thing you're going to do and this quarter, this month, this year, and making sure that the things that you're doing are trackable to that goal, as opposed to random things that just pop up every day, and then your focus becomes that and not the main thing.
Yes, exactly. One practice that we work on with my clients is, how do you want to start our day? How do you want to start your day? Most of us, give me an example. You go into your home office, George, you go into your home office, and what's the very first thing you do when you sit down at your desk?
Drink coffee, check email, and
Check email,
then I
drink
try to
coffee.
create a task list of the 3 things I need to get done.
Okay. All right. So, what if you drink your coffee? I would never take your coffee away. But what if you flipped your task list and you're checking your emails? What if you did your task list first and then checked your emails? How effective do you think your day would be if you changed focusing your morning on what George wants to get done rather than what others are expecting of George?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Then your task list would probably be, more prioritized to what you want to accomplish versus all the things you have to do.
Exactly. So we work a lot on, like, just conscious awareness of how we use technology, because you've developed a neural pathway that created a habit for you to get your coffee first, because that's a necessity, but then go right to your email. And so we work a lot on understanding how our technology is dictating our habits, and that our habits should be rooted in our values. What is important to us? What do we want to get accomplished today? And then our goals. So you get to go into the day thinking about what George wants to get done when you're looking in that email, what George needs to be getting accomplished. And those 3 tasks should really be what you need first, and then what others need of you come afterwards.
wow. See, and it's not novel, but it can make such a huge difference, and it's just
It
things
does.
that we're not aware of.
That's right.
I
You
think
know,
I need
we're
a
really
Sarah in
good.
my life.
I've seen your Instagram page. I need to live like a mother in my life. But it's just, we've been taught as leaders to take care of everyone else but ourselves.
Yeah,
We really
absolutely.
have. I boarded the train with half my vision gone in my left eye.
But
That was extreme. I hope no one ever would do such a thing. But that's how far it had gotten from me. I just felt like the business couldn't operate. The team couldn't operate if I wasn't available to
yeah.
everyone. If I had just checked out for too long. And quite honestly, I'm just too afraid to hear something's wrong. I don't want to know. I want to
So
just
I
keep
think
going and doing my
that's
best.
interesting. So one of the questions that we have on here, I mean, is how do you handle feedback and criticism? Which you're in two completely different spaces. Like the product space brings you customers of all sorts, right?
Yes.
And then you're in the coaching space, which brings you a completely different type of customer, right? You're dealing with,
Right.
I think our first intro was like crybaby CEOs or something like
Yeah.
that, right? Like people of power are really, they can be difficult to work with. So, how
Yeah.
do you, as Sarah, handle criticism or feedback or anything like that from your clients?
So I do always remember that feedback is the perspective of the person who's receiving the service or the product. That is still very important to the business, right? Because I might have a specific intent, but if the impact was opposite of what my intent is, I need to be aware of this. And I need to be aware of it to the degree in which it doesn't identify who I am in the work that I'm doing. It is work, it is a business, it is a product, it is a service, it is not Sarah. So I'm not taking this personally. I actually appreciate feedback because I know I can be direct. I know I can, sometimes be firm or overlook the obvious because I'm a big picture person. So I highly value when my kids say, "No, mom, that's not what you did, or that's not what you said, or that's not what I heard when you said it," so that I could take a step back and say, "Okay, what type of leader do I need to be for you in the business? What type of products do you need from the business? Because I'm serving the marketplace. I want to be adding value to the marketplace. And I can't do that if I'm not meeting the needs of the clients or the customers."
She wants to add value, babe.
No, that's the pillar of a successful business. Be
It's
surprised how many people launch businesses and don't really understand, what the value creation or the value proposition of the business. I'm going to sell X, Y, or Z, or we're going to do, X, Y, or Z. And then, okay, well, who's your target customer and what is the value that you're providing to them versus
Right,
I'm just doing this because I think people need it.
right.
yeah, I think that's at the core of what we do. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that aren't valuable, but when we're doing anything in business or anything on social media, or whether it's writing a book or any sort of our ventures, it's what value can you add? It's not just about money, but it sounds like you're very good at just keeping it separate, right? You said in the beginning, compartmentalizing was one of your strengths. So
Yes.
I'm the kind of person I can't read my book reviews because I don't I can't do that. Right? Like I have a very hard time separating what your thoughts of my books are with the fact that I wrote the book and I spent so much time and so many years doing this. Like I'm
Yeah.
not there yet.
Yeah.
I aspire to be that person one day.
So is your book like a guide or a service, or is it a book about you? Did
So
you write
it
like a
is
memoir?
a guided notebook and it is 12 weeks long. And it has prompts, it has scheduling, it teaches people how to time block.
Oh,
And my goal is with the book was to take how I coached my clients, health and wellness, and to put it into a consumable product that you can have in your hands without me being your coach one
I
on
see.
one. Right. So
I
my
see.
services were not, they were priced accordingly. And some of it might have been cost prohibitive, but I wanted a way to still offer those services in a consumable, personalized way. So
Right.
it's a guided notebook. It's 12-week long. Um, yeah, you take what you need from it and leave the rest.
That's really right. That's right. Self-managed coaching. Sometimes it is user error. I mean, I think we all understand this. It's- There's only so much you're going to get out of the book. If you want the real deal, you got to come get the service. But I completely understand as a author myself. You really are pouring what you think is highly valuable, and to hear someone tell you otherwise, that they didn't receive it that way, I can definitely see how it can affect your mood and affect your energy and your drive to continue. I just always have to remember that they are receiving what I built in a happy creative space. They may not be receiving it from that same space.
Absolutely. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned from starting a business that you would know not to? uh, well, from your mistake. So you've learned from a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
What lesson did that teach you?
Fix people's problems, not feed your passion. Fix the marketplace's problems. So create a product and a service from a obvious problem and find joy in doing what you do, but don't create a business from a passion. And this isn't my first time I had attempted at starting a business. I tried to start a coaching business back in 2016 when I lost 50 pounds in 11 months holistically, just by working out and drinking green
And this
smoothies
was
twice a day.
pre-Ozempic. Congratulations,
This
babe.
was pre-Ozempic.
You did it the hard way.
I did it the long and the hard way. And then I thought, hey, everybody would love to lose weight, and be healthy as fast and as promptly as I did. And it did not go well. My coaching was very regimented in what worked for me. And I wanted to give people what I had to offer rather than figuring out what those who were facing challenges with weight management were dealing with. And so that really required me to figure out what the struggles were for people who were in my situation, even though they did not have my circumstances. So I had to learn, I had to go get educated, I had to do an immense amount of self development, I had to get comfortable with researching, developing programs. So I did the work on myself so that I could then deliver to the marketplace what they needed. So just don't start a business from the things you love to do or the passions that you have, unless your passions and what you love is what the marketplace needs.
Yeah, I think that goes back to that old adage. I think we talk about it sometimes too. Is that yeah? I think it's a misnomer that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and do the things you love. But I think if your passion and what you love doesn't meet a market need, then you're going to be unfulfilled both financially and emotionally, because you're going to create this business, you're going to do all this hard work because you love it, and then it's not going to be received very well. So you have to find something that adds value in the marketplace, addresses a problem in the market, and then hopefully it's something you enjoy doing, and it can
Exactly.
be indoctrinated and incorporated into your life, and it adds value to you as well as to the consumers of the product or service. But to go the other way around and say, what I'm passionate about, like you said, I'm passionate about driving cars. I'm going to create a business about driving cars. That doesn't mean that everyone else is going to receive it the same way that you did.
Exactly.
Amazing. Sarah, this has been so good.
Yeah.
Your knowledge is amazing. Like I've actually learned some things from you that I'm going to adopt into my life right now, such as
Oh, wow.
setting boundaries about where I put my computer and where I do work. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think having physical spaces be that nonverbal cue of what mode you're in. Like, I am at work. I am in this physical space that denotes I am at work. I am in this
Right.
physical space. I am not at work anymore.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's amazing. And the only question I added, and I wanted to have, because I think it's always fun, is what's the worst piece of advice in business you've ever gotten?
Work hard. Because while you're busy working hard, you're not working your God given talent. You're so busy working hard on the thing that someone told you to work hard on that you're not working hard from a place that is just your natural gift. And I think that we get so obsessed with like giving it all you got and working really hard that you're not aware of how your body feels. You're not aware of how the people around you are experiencing the work you're contributing. You're just so hyper focused on output that you're not realizing the impact and the deficiency of input for yourself.
Yeah, it's great. I think, everyone's, give 110%, or you got to work this. And I think at the end of the day, like you said, Scrooge McDuck had it right? Work smarter, not harder. It's about what
Yeah,
fuels you, and about, being smart with your time, not just, I'm working really, really hard. That should be enough.
I didn't know it came from Scrooge McDuck, but if I could just flip that quote, I would say, work your gifts smarter, not
Yeah.
harder.
Amazing. Okay, where can people find you if they want to come to you for coaching? Because it sounds like I might need a
Yes.
coach. But yeah,
Yes, I'm
where do we
here
find
for
you?
you. I'm here for you. Sarah Sims, SarahSims.co. SarahSims.co. You can find me there. I'm on LinkedIn. And I also published a book this summer. So you can find my book on my website, Stress Less: How to Use Self-Care to Redefine Your Well-Being. So you can find a little bit of me there. And it's also on Amazon and all the book outlets.
Amazing. Thank you, Sarah, so much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time and for being our first inaugural guest and working through the
Awesome.
kinks. We
Yay.
appreciate your
I'm so
patience and
excited for you.
fantastic. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Married to the Startup. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us reach more people and keeps the conversation going. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, drop me a message. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time.
George, out.